DeLuna Coffee has been fueling Florida and beyond since 2014, and now wake up Warchant. DeLuna Coffee is owned and operated by the Lemmix family, Ed, Courtney, and their son Brett. When not roasting the perfect coffee blends, these FSU diehards can be found tailgating near the Unconquered statue. Go and set your sights on their Lighthouse blend. Made of 5 different coffee origins, a combination of light and medium roasted beans creates this wonderful cup of premium coffee. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant. It is fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Use that promo code WARCHANT15 while you're over there exploring. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminoles sports source. Promo code WARCHANT30. 30 for days of access. Stretch your legs out. Get familiar with the surroundings. Enjoy it. Live it. Breathe it. Embrace it. Thumbs up button to everybody listening to us on YouTube. If you are listening to us on a podcast, like a normal podcast, I don't really think listening to on YouTube counts, although I guess maybe it does, Corey. 5-star rating and review if you're on an Apple, iTunes, iOS device, whatever we call it. We call this guy the Coracle. It's Corey Clark, y'all. What's up, Corey?
What's up, Aslan? How you doing, buddy? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm ready for battle. I want to go to war with you over this Jordan Travis post you made on the Tribal Council. So.
Sweet. I don't know. I don't even know how you could read that and disagree with anything. Knock
down, drag him out, battle over it. We hit thumbs up with everything. All right, good. Maybe I can pick a fight with you on this, but no need to pick a fight when we're riding high right now. We're feeling good. So I stepped away from watching this Ole Miss Louisville game. Corey, why can't we start talking about 8 wins? Like, have you adjusted anything? I don't know if maybe we could talk later about thoughts from the Notre Dame game that we didn't get to in our hour-long bonanza Monday morning. But I read Ira's 3-2-1, and he's kind of like, 7 wins might be the floor now. Which I'm like, come on, Ira, you're the hope merchant. We got a whole bunch of hope to sell people now.
I think going into Sunday night, I thought the floor was probably 4 wins, and now I think the floor is 6 wins. Okay. That's fair, right?
Yeah.
When you look at and I guess maybe part of that is the way the rest of the ACC looked. Like, it's hard to know about Miami because Alabama would do that to anyone. Like, we can make fun of Miami all we want, but that's just what Alabama does. They play a neutral site game to start the season and beat the bejesus out of anyone in front of them. So no shame there, Miami. It literally happens to everyone. But North Carolina clearly didn't look great. Louisville does not look great. Boston College, you can't know because they played Colgate. So there's a reason to be, a little bit more optimistic about this schedule that maybe it's not. And it's not like it was daunting, like in the sense that we thought it was an incredibly tough, like the Patriots would have a hard time going undefeated at this schedule. It's just it was daunting for this particular Florida State team.
Right.
Maybe a little less so now. If that was one of the 3 toughest games they're going to play Sunday night, well, that bodes kind of well.
Yeah, I think maybe overlooking Miami, possibly. I could be right now currently. The North Carolina game is a weird one. I'm just more buoyed by the way Florida State played. My win-loss, I would have said like 6. I'm like, there'll be a 6-6 team. I mean, like, I don't know if I thought Louisville was one of those for sure 6 wins, but like watching Louisville right now struggle with Ole Miss, like that's a win. I mean, you can't. I mean, I know they beat the brakes off you last year, but I mean, clearly this team is much different. I know it's small sample size. It's one game. I get it, everybody, but
it's one half of one game at this point.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about
for all we know. By the time we're done recording this, Louisville will have pulled a 2016 Florida State against Ole Miss and come storming back.
Yeah, that's part of this whole Jordan Travis thing I'm going to get back to maybe at some point. But yeah, I just feel like I still think Boston College is going to be tricky. Maybe the win-loss doesn't. Maybe Ira is right. Maybe it doesn't alter all that much. Maybe there isn't a big degree of variance. But I just know that we're going to have 13 fun weeks. The Clemson game's not going to be a slaughter. Florida game's not going to be a slaughter. legitimate chance to beat North Carolina on the road, legitimate chance to finally knock Miami off for what feels like the first time in forever. So maybe
we'll
I
see,
got ahead of
right?
myself.
Like, it's cool that you get to feel like that now at the beginning of September. We'll see how you feel at November. We'll see how the next 2 months plays out because that's going to be a really hard month. I guess like Clemson's late October, but yes, that's going to be a really difficult stretch. But right now, depending on health, injury, momentum, everything that happens in a football season, we don't know how any of that's going to affect this team. But right now, seeing what you saw, the parts, yeah, man, you should be you should be going into the rest of these next 12 games thinking, or next 11 games thinking, yeah, they should win. They should win more than they lose the rest of the way. If they play the way they played on Sunday night. Now, obviously, the key is, are they going to do that?
Why wouldn't they though? Like, what would give you pause that?
What kind of emotion are they going to have and play with when there's 53,000 in Doak in a mid-afternoon game against Louisville? Do they play as hard? Do those safeties come down and make those kind of tackles? Do they rush the passer quite like that? Do those running backs run quite as hard when they don't have the juice of 8 million people watching them on national TV and a full stadium, prime time, knowing everybody's watching? That's the question you don't know. You know that I don't. The way Norvell tries to build this program, that should not be an issue, but it might still be an issue in year 2. It should not be an issue, but it might be because look, man, they're not going to have another crowd like that until Miami. So, if they even have one like that for Miami, who knows when that game will be played, what time of day? But that's what I wonder about is like when that crowd isn't as amped up, and you're not coming off a year where you didn't have any crowds at all. You'll be more used to crowds. Will they still get that juice and that passion and play like they did for a long stretches of that game on Sunday night?
Wow, look at you being all cynical, Corey. Where's this coming from? You should be in a good mood. You got your whole family with you at the house right now in Tallahassee?
No, they left already, buddy. Okay. Shannon and Ryan got it. It was her birthday, by the way. It was Shannon's birthday
nice.
on Monday. The big 3-0, if you can believe it.
Wish they could have pulled through for her on Sunday night, man.
Yeah, that's too bad. She didn't get that great birthday present that she was hoping for. And no, I'm not trying to be cynical. I was answering the question. Like I think if they play that level of intensity and ferocity, they will be very hard to beat for a number of those teams on that schedule. But I go back to 17. Like Florida State's defense against Alabama in that opener was national championship caliber. Like they flew around like they owned the place. Like their defense was, to me, almost as good as Alabama's. Like they were incredible, and they just got beat on. I think can't remember if they had a punt blocked or something happened.
Yeah,
I know Ridley got deep for one, and then I think a punt was blocked or something. Like Alabama didn't do much at all, but then Florida State's defense never quite ratcheted up to that level again in 2017, did it? Like it held Boston College to 35 points. Like that defense that we saw that night in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium was not the defense we saw in Boston. So it doesn't always mean just because you play great at the beginning in a certain atmosphere that it'll translate. But I don't.
What a different. That's pears to apples, brother, man. That's
no, exactly. But we can't just assume that that's what it'll be. I think it'll be like that. I think they found something, and I think a lot of these guys have still a ton to prove. One game where you give up 41 points, you better not beating your chest too much. So they still have a lot to prove. So I'm always hesitant about predicting what will happen in November or assuming that what we see in September is what we'll see in November. But I liked what I saw to start September.
I mean, I think that was a really good Notre Dame team. I think Stanford Steve, who executive produces the Scott Van Pelt show, that's pretty good at college football is his thing. I think he said that Notre Dame was a team. This was before the season started. Like 9 wins was their floor. So I mean that was a good Notre Dame team, and the fact that they played that well against them, it's a transitive property, which is never really a good thing to use when it comes to college football. Although there isn't, they haven't played those teams. But I just think if you can hang with Notre Dame like that, I think you'll be okay on a noon sleepy kickoff against Louisville or 32,000 people in Winston-Salem here in 2 more weeks. But that's the big one, though, right? Crazy enough. Winston-Salem, can they take the hill? But
yeah, and we'll talk about this game this weekend, too. I don't dismiss the importance of this game. I don't think it should not be all that close. You'd hope not. It would be a bad sign if it was close like it was. Last year, they were trailing at the half, I think. So if it's like that again, then, yeah, that's worrisome to me. Like, if they only win by a couple touchdowns, if they kind of sleepwalk and slop through this, I want to see a 50-point blowout. Like, to me, that would be an incredible sign. Like, okay, you're disappointed that you clearly didn't win that game. You expended a lot of energy, but you still came back and you followed what your coach always preaches about 1% better and blah. I know it's all coach speak, but it's like, I shouldn't do that. Like, blah. I hope the players aren't doing that. Blah, blah, blah. Here he goes again with the climbing. Great. All right, coach. But I want to see them try to reach that level again, no matter who the opponent is. That's what they always say, right? It shouldn't matter what the opponent is. The great teams, that's what they do. And I know this team isn't great, but I think that would be a great sign to not just go sleepwalk like every Florida State team of seemingly the past 5 or 6 years has done against an outman team. Sleepwalk, give up easy touchdowns, don't fight at the beginning, whatever it takes. And I would like to see them jump on them early and stay on them early. Have a big enough lead that your backup quarterbacks can play some of the game and that you could get some backups, some real work. Don't be in a dogfight with a team you have a lot more talent than, because to me, that's not a great sign about how you prepared during the week. And if this program is going to take the step that we think it's going to take, it will start preparing better during the week and taking care of business in a big way. I think they're going to win that game. They should win comfortably. But if they just go and sleepwalk to like a 40-21 win or a 31-13 win, to me, that's not a good sign. If they go out and they're up, I don't know, 34-6 at half or 34-0, that's a really good sign. Just about the mindset of the team, right?
Well, that's the thing, though. I think the mindset, that's what has me feeling very, very optimistic, hopeful.
Yeah,
about what the
me
future
too.
holds,
But I want them to build on it, right?
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a one blip, a one stop like North Carolina was last year. I don't want it to be just like a one fun night in front of a huge crowd and they played well and they found something and then they revert back to what they've been and they just kind of sleepwalk because they know they're better than another team. I want to see them take that step where they crush a team they're supposed to crush.
What I was trying to say before that impassioned salvo from you there was that Trench Talk was Monday night, and like Devontae was very appreciative of everybody saying how happy they were and how proud they were of the fight that they showed. But like he was not happy. He was not happy at all with the result. Like before we even started the show, I'm just like, "How you doing, man?" He's like, "Oh man, I've been better." I'm like, "Well, you've been worse too, though, man. You've been plenty worse." Like, "Oh yeah," but he's like, I'd feel a whole lot better, man, if we would have been able to pull that out. Just the way Mackenzie Milton looked on the telecast, like when the fumble happened, like you could tell he knew they kind of squandered something there, and it wasn't like, we'll get him the next time around. I was like, man, we had it, like we had them on the ropes. We were about to, we let them off the hook. They are who we thought they were. So, and with a guy like him, who I think is going to probably have a bigger part in this offense, Mackenzie Milton, that is. He hadn't lost a game in how long? He hadn't been in a football game where he was on the losing side.
Yeah, since in 5 years.
Yeah,
16.
So with guys like that, the way Devontae Love Taylor the way he was comporting himself in the live show with all these people, just fawning over him. When those are your guys' leaders and those are the way they're feeling right now, I don't. Listen, anything is possible. I don't see your points are totally valid, Corey. The possible apprehension, like, listen, they've played good before. They've actually won a game against a top 5 team, top 10 team, and then they've squandered away the next week. With those pieces in place, with the way the crowd was, I just think there's been a shift. There's been baby steps. No, I think they took like a full grown man step. So buckle up, Gamecocks.
But do you think that would be proven on Saturday night, or is that something we have to wait for Wake? Yeah, I guess that was the point I was making. I think they can prove something even against a team like Jacksonville State, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Look, Wake is the measuring stick. Yeah, Wake is the measuring stick, which is crazy, but that's where we are to see what they're building on. But again, you don't want to take a step backwards or even take a step sideways.
Yeah.
And I think a pedestrian kind of run-of-the-mill, not great performance on Saturday night, although it's completely understood because they played such an emotional and physical game, I just think that's a step sideways. You want to keep taking little steps forward, I think, and that Saturday could be that. It could be, you think about like the triple jump, Aslan.
Okay.
You don't just run and just take one little jump, dude. You don't take one jump. It's a triple jump. You take your little jump, which was Notre Dame. You take your other big jump, which is Jacksonville State, your other little jump, and then you take the huge jump into the sand over Wake Forest. That's what they're in the midst of right now. Notre Dame was a little jump. They got another little jump this weekend, and then they launch into the sand against Wake Forest.
Okay, so then, Corey, you are our lead writer. You're our senior writer. You write columns. I mean, golly, how many words was your Sunday column? That was long. It was good. It was really good. It was long.
I didn't count them. A couple thousand probably, maybe 1,500, something like that. I didn't count them.
I should have.
They felt great. They were all great, folks. You should go read it.
Yeah, you do that. You write and transcribe interviews as they're happening, like a court stenographer. But, you pick your spots when you get involved in the mix on the tribal council and replying to people posting messages on the message board. You went ahead and wrote a 6-graph sort of here's my take on the quarterback situation. Very, very pro Jordan Travis, not anti Mackenzie Milton. Very let's look at some context. Let's have some perspective. Why did you take, I don't know, man, 15 minutes out of your Monday after you'd been up till 4 a.m, cranking out all this other content to kind of tell people what's going to happen maybe with the quarterbacks?
Well, number one, I think that the people see what they want to see sometimes. That was not a pro Jordan Travis take.
Oh, come on, it was. What, it was a Rorschach test? It was definitely, that was strong, heavy. That was heavy Jordan Travis, man.
You can read it, right? Like, I don't care if people read it. This isn't, I mean, I know it's one post, but you can read that.
Yeah.
I think we can let people make up their mind. But basically, the point is that, everybody not everybody, but many people were on the boards were like, yeah, this is ridiculous that Milton didn't play. I'd rather get Chuba ready to play. It's clear Jordan Travis isn't it. He doesn't have it. And my point, which is a salient one, was, buddy, they had 28 points with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and he had them at midfield again. I'm not going to argue that Jordan Travis played well. In fact, in that post, I say he didn't. He didn't play great. He didn't play good. And he seemed rattled at times. They also had 28 points at midfield in the fourth quarter of a 10-point game. So it wasn't a Blackman-esque embarrassment. He still put up points.
Why have you used him as a verb, like an adjective?
Well, sorry. I guess I was just a little stunned by Florida State fans' lack of perspective when it comes to horrific quarterback play, considering what Florida State fans have watched recently. A guy that puts up 28 points against a playoff team from a year ago that has a very good front four, planned for him for 8 months, and has an incredible safety who made a couple ridiculous interceptions. You put up 28 points and you're driving again, and people are like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. They made him sound like he was a JV. They made him sound like he was Cosentino. So that was what was so puzzling to me. Is like you can appreciate what Milton did in his 2 drives, and I do, and I said as much. But you can also appreciate the guy that had 3 touchdowns and put up 28 points against Notre Dame, not against Jacksonville State, not in practice. I'm not talking about practice. I'm talking about against Notre Dame. So it was odd to me that there was so much anti-Jordan. And some of it was pro-McKenzie, which I get. But in making the point about how Mackenzie Milton should have started, there were so many posters that were acting as if Jordan Travis was J.J. Cosentino, and when Milton came into the game, it was 38-0. It was 38-28, and the offense had just gotten a 25-yard run by that quarterback. Odd is all. So that's what I was trying to do, is give a little perspective. I think they'll both play moving forward. I did not think Jordan Travis was good, and the main point of the whole post was, what does it say about your defense, your offense, when wouldn't you say last year was Jordan Travis's best game when he played Notre Dame?
Nah, I think Duke, but I guess all things considered. Totality.
All things considered, right? Like against that kind of defense.
The Notre Dame game to me was such a weird anomaly. They were on a 3-week break with COVID. Like, they played 1 game, then they played nothing for 3 weeks. I don't know if they can even practice with the amount of COVID they had on their team. Enter Florida State. They beat the hell out of Florida State. And Jordan Travis has some nice flash plays in it. I mean, the game was never really, out of, Notre Dame never squandered it away. So for we put a lot of stock, you put a lot of stock in Jordan Travis by the way he played against Notre Dame. I just don't nearly think that was as impressive. All the variables in it were not nearly as impressive as it looked on paper.
Well, I disagree with that, but that's fine. I can understand that point. I wasn't saying that he had them in a position to win necessarily, but he put up 300 yards and 26 points. The only two teams that scored more than that last year were teams named Clemson and Alabama against Notre Dame. But the point about COVID is taken. But either way, my point about that was Jordan Travis, I thought that was his best game of his year, was against Notre Dame last year. He ran for 100 yards. He threw for 200, had some nice throws, competed, got him down to the 1 in a position to maybe score again. I thought that was his best game of probably his college career. I did not think, and they scored 26 points against Notre Dame. I did not think he played very well on Sunday night against Notre Dame. I thought there were long stretches where he was not good at all, and yet that offense still had 28 points and was at midfield again, ready to go score again, or at least on its way to go scoring again. The point being, they put up that many points with not great quarterback play. They put up 38 as a whole. Notre Dame's given up 38 points 3 times in the last 4 years, and one of those was Sunday night. So the point is, Florida State's offense is in a much better place, no matter who the quarterback is. But think about what we've seen the last 3 years since we've been doing this show, the last 4 years, that we would be hand-wringing, and Florida State fans would be hand-wringing, and with good reason, a performance where a quarterback put up 28 and there was still 7 or 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter against Notre Dame. Isn't that kind of a perspective of where the offense was compared to, I don't know, DeAndre Francois ripping around on the turf and saying, don't pick me up because we can't do anything. Or even last year where the Georgia Tech game and every game after North Carolina, to me was what's so encouraging is the step the offense made, even when it didn't take a sensational or a very good game. But I thought the only way they're going to put up a bunch of points against Notre Dame was if Jordan Travis played very, very well. Jordan Travis did not play really well at all, and they still put up a lot of points against Notre Dame. That's a good sign, right?
Yeah. Well, good sign for who? This team or for Jordan Travis?
No, for the team. Because, and as I said in that post, the most encouraging thing, and I talked about it yesterday, was the fact that they ran the ball with Milton in there. They were able to run with him in there as well, even though he's not the running threat. So, yeah, moving forward, there aren't going to be many teams that put up 38 on Notre Dame. Probably none that turn it over 3 times and have 9 penalties. So Florida State, even with those mistakes, even not really winning a field position battle at all, put up 38 points, 450 yards, and 20-something first downs, and ran for 260 against Notre Dame. There might be another team other than Clemson, maybe. I don't even know if they play Notre Dame. There might be not another team on the schedule that does that to Notre Dame. I think it. So it struck me as Florida State fans were so concerned about Milton this and Milton that. They're acting like if Mackenzie Milton had played the whole game, what are you going to put up, 52? You put up 38. Or do people listen to this really think? I mean, maybe it would have happened. I guess you can't say it wouldn't have. But were they going to put up 52 or 55 with McKinnon? 38's a ton of points. So I thought people would be more encouraged by that and more excited about that and not calling Norvell a fool for playing Jordan Travis.
Well, those are 2 different things somewhat, I think. The fact that Jordan Travis had to start. Again, he practiced 60% more than Mackenzie Milton did. When Mackenzie practiced, he did not look sharp at all. I don't think Jordan looked great in camp. I don't think he did. But compared
I think there's become a narrative. But don't you think I think there's this weird narrative, and I'm probably paying too much attention to the boards, that I don't think anybody on this show acted as if Jordan Travis was having an incredible camp. Certainly you didn't. You saw more practice than I did. I don't think he looked sensational. I thought he looked better than Mackenzie Milton for a variety of reasons. One was, availability. Mm-hmm. But just because we thought he looked better than Mackenzie Milton, nobody on this show was saying he looked incredible, like he was the next Charlie Ward or Chris Winkie. And I think that's getting lost a little bit, is that people think that he was just having this incredible camp. It wasn't that as much as he was actually participating. And the other competitor, not as much.
No. That kind of goes back to spring, too. I think he looked better than Mackenzie in the spring for sure, other than maybe the spring game, but I'm not going to let the spring game override the previous 14 practices in there. The weird thing for me is just I don't know how to grade Jordan Travis, because the points on the scoreboard are the points on the scoreboard, and you pointed out 28 points, and they're marching down the field trying to score again. But that Corbin run was they were dead in the water. And then out of nowhere, Jay-Sean Corbin is Dalvin Cook and busts off an 89-yard run. That was nuts. the touchdown throw to Ja'Kai Douglas. It's like 3rd and long. They kind of piddled all over themselves in the previous 2 plays. But hey, man, he threw the ball. He caught it. Ja'Kai caught it. It counts. It's never seemed sustainable. Like, it never seems like anything that Jordan does is like part of the game plan, and you can build around this and you can count on it. But it happens a lot. I mean, he did it against Notre Dame last year to a certain degree. He did it Sunday night. He did it against North Carolina. He had good drives and games against Louisville and Pitt before he got hurt. It's just, I hate to sit here and discount him and the things that he's done. I have just never felt that like he was going to be somebody consistently producing for this team at the most important position. That's why I think Milton, if he starts, they probably still end up with maybe 7 points in the first quarter. Maybe they get more than 7 in the second quarter. I just think Milton would have been able to kind of adapt to what they were seeing, because it was clear they weren't prepared for whatever Notre Dame threw at him.
Absolutely.
That was the weird thing. Like, to see Jordan run around, and you mentioned it, like there was lanes maybe there was go around the left side, and maybe you could have busted off a 20-yard run. The things that he did last year, that stuff didn't happen. Now, he had those big plays that bailed him out on. He had those home run plays, but every 2 snaps where it's like, hey, man, like he's going to maybe house it if you don't, hem him up. And they kept getting to him. When they got a hand on him, he went down. And what the elusiveness that we were used to, like all that stuff was gone. So that to me is now I'm not second-guessing why he started. I am second-guessing if he does start against Jacksonville State. That's
and we'll be at practice later on today. We'll be at practice. I think practice is open on Wednesday too. We'll see how the reps are split. I don't know if they'll care if we tell you, like if they don't want Jacksonville State to know. I'm sure they'll both be getting reps, and we'll see. I have a feeling they'll both play, and all that's fair. I would equate Jordan Travis to like, and I get it, man. I get it. I'm used to watching, football games. You want your offenses to be consistent. You want to think, okay, on this 3rd and 9, we're going to pick this up. We're going to keep the drive going. That's okay. It's one little penalty. That should not derail the drive. When they get a 5-yard penalty, to me anyway, the last couple years with Jordan Travis, and you guys know I think he's a pretty nice player, I bet 90% of the time they punt. Just with one 5-yard penalty, 1st and 15. It's just the offense, he's not that kind of quarterback. And he does some things where you're like, holy moly. And then again, though, you look up and there's 28 points on the board. So we can say that it was just a great run by Corbin, but they only had one single high safety because they had so many people dedicated to 13. Now, would Jashawn Corbin have ripped off a 90-yard with Mackenzie Milton at quarterback? Probably not, because they would have 2 safeties back there, and one of them would have probably run him out of bounds. But the same token, there's no chance in Hades that Jordan Travis makes a couple of those throws that Milton had on his touchdown drive. So, and then, again, though, Travis has to throw to Parchment. That throw to Douglas is a dime. So I would equate Jordan Travis to, like, at least from what we've seen from him through 6 games. Remember, it's been 6 games. One of these guys that's the modern-day baseball player, Javi Baez, man, strikes out 211 times a year but hit 35 home runs. He's infuriating to watch as a baseball player sometimes. You're like, he doesn't even look like he's trying. He just swung at a ball that hit the guy on deck. Like, it doesn't make sense what he's swinging at. And then you look up and you can't argue with the numbers. Yeah. He hits 35 home runs,
absolutely,
drives in 100.
There you go.
And he, more often than not, he helps you win more than he loses, even as ugly as he looks sometimes. And I think that's a little bit of how you have to view Jordan Travis right now in this part of his career is that he is going to make some plays that other guys don't make. He is going to make some plays where he the Parchment play. That's just something that's just something not a lot of guys make. He also made some throws the other day. You're like, what in the world is that, man? You're a Division I quarterback? That's crazy. The one he threw over McLean's head on the sideline, that was going to be a 2-yard pass, but still, that's gross. So I get it. It doesn't look like what you're used to great quarterback play looking like, and I'm not arguing he's a great quarterback. But is he effective? I don't know, man. The score's the score. And if crazy pants, crazy legs Hirsch doesn't make that crazy interception, he might be the only safety in the country that makes that play. He's the only safety in the country that might keep it from being a touchdown. And not only did he do that, he intercepts and gives them the ball. Like, I don't fault Jordan on that one at all. Maybe you could say he didn't have to put as much arc on it, on that one down the sideline. But, man, he just saw a dude running open. He didn't have any idea that safety would come from the other hash to make that play. So, Yeah, the point of all that is I get the frustration. It doesn't look like how we're used to competent quarterback play looking like. I will also say that 2, 3, 4 years ago, those quarterbacks had no chance of putting up those kind of numbers against Notre Dame, a Notre Dame defense like that. So I think if he's your quarterback, you're going to have to live with some grossness. You're going to have to live with some swings at balls 30 feet, pitches that go 48 feet. But he's also going to hit you 30 home runs over the course of a season.
Or you put Ronald Acuna in. Put McKenzie Milton in.
Right. So that's the other thing is that, I'm all for Milton being awesome. It would be great if he was the dude from 18. Clearly, if he was, Florida State's a lot better because that guy's the lead.
But get to the but, because what's the but with McKenzie Milton?
So
what is the feel?
Do we know for sure? He will get a chance now to prove it. But there's no way that anybody on that sideline thinks that the McKenzie Milton they have right now is the guy that that UCF had pre-injury. Because if they did, they're not dumb guys. He would be playing.
Yeah.
They haven't seen a lot out of him to prove that. And we can say he's a gamer. He plays well under lights. That's fine. It's been 3 years since he played in the game. And, again, he wasn't practicing a ton. So there were reasons why he didn't play. Now, moving forward, though, I think you have to see what you have in him now, right? As long as we'll talk to Norvell later today, as long as he handled the physicality, it was only 2 drives, but if he handled it well, if he felt okay, he looks himself, he can practice, he can play, you can give him a lot of snaps, then yes, all of that I said about Jordan Travis, I'm 100% on board with giving McKenzie Milton a lot of looks, start him, who cares, see who looks better in this game, and go from there. But I would also think that he's going to play against Wake Forest even if he doesn't start.
Am I heartless for not being as concerned for his, I don't want to say I'm not concerned about his long-term well-being, but there's a lot of people who are, I don't want to say they're in the camps, but there's people that are bringing up the fact of the matter that, listen, with this offensive line, Jordan was scrambling around and looked very skittish back there. What's it going to look like if it would have been McKenzie back there? Like, McKenzie could potentially get seriously hurt in a way that nobody else can really, empathize with, I guess. That's not in my head. I don't know if that's in Mike Norvell's head, if that's part of the calculus that they use. This offensive line is going to get better, but in the meantime, it's almost negligent for us to put the kid back there. But the way he talked about him in February, they did their due diligence. We went through the medical. We talked to their trainer.
Yeah.
They talked to our trainer. They would not put the kid out there if he was any more likely to be hurt than anybody else on that roster. So, I am not worried about that aspect of things. I think he knows how to handle it. I think he knows how to take care of his body. I think he knows probably how to get rid of the ball. I mean, we saw the way he scooped up that freaking warm burner snap.
Yeah.
He knew he wasn't scared. It was oh, my God, my leg. He was heads up enough to scoop it up and throw it away and let him kick a field goal to push it to overtime. So, that's not – I understand, if you're saying Jordan Travis gives you a better option, maybe in terms of, durability, or you don't have to worry about putting somebody in harm's way, but – no, man, it's been 3 years. It's been 3 years. If this thing is ever going to be fine, it's not going to be any different a year from now. He got clearance. He's gone through scout team last year. He went through parts of camp this year. He went through a whole spring. I think he's ready, and I would hope that what he did Sunday night, that's enough to be okay, he can do this. We know he doesn't look like, and again, I'm not blaming them for starting Jordan Travis. McKenzie Milton did not look like McKenzie Milton looked on Sunday night in practice. And you can't go into a game of that importance and put a guy in there just because you think maybe, hopefully. No, it doesn't work that way. When you have a guy that's performed at a pretty decent rate and you believe the things that you're saying about him, that he's got improved accuracy and improved footwork. But, man, what he did Sunday night, I know, small sample size, but I think it's a big enough sample size to say, all right, we're moving forward with you starting the quarterback against Jacksonville State. Jordan Travis will be part of the plans. Jordan's taking reps with the 2s, and we'll go from there. But we'll see. We'll talk to coach.
Yeah, but I would have no problem with that. I don't want people to hear me talking about Jordan Travis thinking he should be the starter. I thought the way the running game looked in the fourth quarter with Milton back there was all I needed to see to be okay, give that dude a chance. Because I didn't think they could do that with him back there. And that was against a good front. A tired front, but a good front. Let's see. If they could do that against Notre Dame, they should do that against basically anybody on their schedule not named Clemson. So that's a good sign that they should be able to run the ball against whoever. But I think the context of pulling Travis matters. Like, do you pull him at halftime when you're down 17-14 and you're getting the ball?
Yeah, no, there's no point where I thought they should have put. Listen,
Right.
It's crazy. The way it happened, it was the only way it was going to happen, and it happened.
So that was my thought. Is like, I get people saying he should have gone to Milton earlier, but you tell me when, because it's 17-14. Travis had just thrown the best pass of his life. You're in the game. It's halftime. You're only down 17-14. You take the opening drive and go right down the field to score. I think he scored on that one, maybe on the little bootleg. Or maybe that was the Douglas touchdown. I get confused. It's crazy. I can remember every play from 1987. I can't remember one from 24 hours ago. But either way, they take their first drive of the half and go down and score. So they're up 20-17. So you're like, okay, well, you're not taking them out then. Notre Dame takes the lead. Then you're not taking them out after a touchdown drive. So they go 3 and out. Notre Dame scores again. Florida State, so now it's 31-20. Florida State has the ball again, and then they go for it on 4th down, and he gets intercepted, but it was going to be a turnover on downs anyway. So they're down 38-20 because Notre Dame goes in right and scores. That, to me, would have made the most sense, maybe, to be like, you know what, he just threw another pick. It's his third. It's 38-20. But then what kind of position are you putting Mackenzie Milton in? Don't know if he can move real well. It's 38-20. They are going to pin their ears back. And they're going to know that you're going to try to throw it every down. And with that offensive line in that situation, they did not trust that Mackenzie Milton could. I'm sure that's what it was. Like, that's not fair to Mackenzie Milton at that point. Here you go, Mackenzie. I know you've been waiting 3 years. You're down 18 against the top 10 team. Good luck. Go lead us back like you're Danny Cannell in '94. But then what happened? That drive was a lot of run. The drive they ended up scoring to make it 38-28, where Jordan had the pass to Parchment. That was a lot of running, right? I feel like
incomplete Parchment, complete to Keyshawn, Jordan runs, Trayshawn run, Trayshawn run, incomplete, Jayshawn run, Trayshawn run, Trayshawn run, and then
Sean gone. Yeah. That Sean gone backfield.
Yeah. And then Jordan.
And then so he completed, I think, 2 passes, right? He had a nice one to Helton over the middle that kept the drive going, I think.
Yeah.
And then the Parchment one, and everything else was running. And then at that point, well, you wouldn't take him out after you had the Parchment play. So my point being, there was never a great time to take him out unless you were going to take him out somewhere in the second quarter. But, again, as we've said, there were reasons that Travis practiced more than Mackenzie Milton. And he kept doing just enough to keep like, all right, okay, we'll stay with him. Mm-hmm. All right, just scored again. That's our 4th touchdown. Yeah. And he just had a 25-yard run. We'll stay with him again. So I do think, though, because of the way Milton looked, it just looks better coming out of his hand. We all get it. Those throws he made, Travis isn't making. There's some things that Jordan can do that Mackenzie can't, sure. But the most important thing a quarterback does is get the ball out on time and make plays downfield with his arm. Mackenzie Milton probably does that. Not probably. He does that better than Jordan Travis right now. And now that you can run the ball, or you think you can run the ball with him at quarterback, I think you feel like the offense can operate on a more efficient level. And with that in mind, yeah, man, I have no issue starting Mackenzie Milton. See what the guy's got. But I was just upset with all the anti-Travis stuff, as if they had just watched J.J. Cosentino in the Chick-fil-A Bowl.
With J.J., like Skyler Morningwig, he means. J.J., I'm sorry, man.
Cosentino's a Nole. Why do I keep doing that? Yeah, you're right. One of those
Trayon
slappy
Harris.
Florida quarterbacks from the last decade. That's a good point.
Go back to Eric Kresser. Talk about his coach, his high school coach. Slander his high school coach.
Yeah, there you go. Smart.
Yeah, we gotta have good relationships with those kind of
right, though. That's right. Don't you think? I wasn't trying to make the point that Jordan Travis played great, because he didn't.
But it was a lot of cold water on Mackenzie Milton, though, and that's why I'm like, why are we pumping brakes on Mackenzie Milton? Because, again, that's to my point of the way that it looks with Jordan. You're right, man. The points are the points. The scoreboard's a scoreboard, man. There's no style up there. But the way that Mackenzie looked in that situation, like that was the guy that had been in this offense for 4 years.
Yeah, it was incredible. It really was. But again, I guess the cold water was that it was 5 passes. That is such a small sample size. I remember Xavier Lee looking awesome.
Man, the pressure.
No, exactly right. But that just does not mean that moving forward he's the best answer every game, every situation. It also doesn't mean that guy for those 5 passes is the guy they've seen the whole time, or just like, no, we don't like that. We like the guy that's a little skittish in the pocket and runs into defensive ends. Like, no, that's not. Some guys, they play a little better when it matters more for whatever reason, but it's hard to know that with a guy that hadn't played in 3 years. We can't. It's not like he transferred right after the Auburn game. It's a long time. That Auburn game was a long time ago, man. Their national championship was a long time ago. So now you saw a little magic, right? You saw a little more McKenzie magic. You feel like that that guy's in there somewhere. He's not going to be the guy from 2018 or 17, but maybe he can be a reasonable facsimile. And with the way you run the ball with this offense, that could be good enough to put up big, big points. And the receivers will be more involved, man. Let's be honest.
All right. I would have loved right now to go over the Pro Football Focus grades.
Yeah, what's going on with that, man? Your favorite website? Did they just decide not to do to take? Did they know that Florida State and Notre Dame played?
It said grades pending review since we did the show at 4 a.m. Monday, so they're still pending review apparently. I want to see I just want to bet right now. I think who do you think is going to be the top graded defensive player? I almost want to say Jarvis Brownlee's got himself a fan club on Warchant right now. So I almost want to say
like
him.
that dude, man. He comes up and hits you. He gave up what, the one catch right down the sideline where the guy held on going out of bounds. But
it's 2021 football, man.
That's going to happen. Yeah, he's got a little physicality to him. I would still think Jermaine Johnson probably. I think Fabian Lovett had a really good game. For what
Quayshawn,
but he had like 6 snaps.
Yeah, just destroyed everybody.
So that was one thing we didn't talk about it, but man, the Quayshawn 2 plays, he looked like he was shot out of a cannon. Yeah, it's like, wow, what was that? That's cool to see, right?
But they were tired though, Corey. He went up against a tired Notre Dame offensive line.
No, that's not how it works. It's the other way. It's the defensive linemen get tired. The offensive linemen are fine. But that's a really nice change-up to have because what the difference is that Jermaine Johnson was tired, and he was not coming off the ball in the third and fourth quarter like he was coming off the ball in the first quarter because that's natural, right? You're tired. Well, by God, get a guy in there that maybe only plays a handful of snaps, but he looks like that. Maybe Jermaine Johnson starts getting a few more extra plays off, so he's fresher in the third or fourth quarter. I thought that was a really good thing to see out of him. I don't know that any other defensive lineman really stood out, backups I'm talking about, but man, I was really impressed with 30 on those 2 plays. That was violent. That was like sudden and violent, like old school.
Yeah, I know they like Josh Farmer. I know they like Josh Farmer a lot. I still think it's going to take some time probably for him, but he's going to see action this year. But Quayshawn's probably a little more physically developed and maybe a little bit more ready to contribute. So while they wait for that guy to develop, it's not revelation, but man, if Quayshawn can bottle some of that up, that's going to change. That's going to change the way they can attack defenses. Sadly enough, as I'm looking at the box score, so that was right before the screen pass. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
when they had him 3rd and 17.
Yeah. Because him and Jarvis combined for TFL on Kyron Williams for 2 yards, and then he sacked Cone for 5, and then 55 yards. Okay.
Hey, what are you gonna do, man?
Yeah, what are you
sometimes they make sometimes you dial up the wrong blitz.
So this happens that way sometimes. All right, we'll get back out to practice. In case you guys were wondering, Devontae says he's fine. Said he thought he was gonna have a full body cramp. And then Dante went into the game, and Dante was actually doing pretty good, so he didn't really know. He didn't want to knock off the momentum they had going. So Devontae says he's good, says he feels fine, he's full good to go. Also, wink, wink, nodded that Dylan Gibbons is fine. So if you were worried about that kind of stuff, health seems like they got out of the game relatively healthy. But I'd love to say we'll find out more, but I don't mind making the coach feel awkward, but man, his awkwardness when we ask him about injuries makes me feel awkward. So I don't like feeling awkward. So I'm not going to ask him about.
Sure, I understand. I think the one from the offense that I'm most interested in is probably Pokey. He wasn't there at all in the second half. They had Portier in the game and Williamson in the game. So I don't know if Pokey's okay or what happened. We'll hopefully get to ask or find out later today. And then on defense, I feel like they came out relatively unscathed, right?
Yeah, I want the grades up because the guys that were hey man, let's not forget about a guy like Mako Dotson coming in and playing in 2021 after not really playing. I don't remember. Did he play? I don't remember Mako playing. So If that defense, no matter how up and down they looked, if a guy like Mako's available at some point, again, I don't really know if he played on Sunday, but Jarian's a guy that missed a lot of camp. If he's a guy that gets
played.
some more, and if he can get some more reps in practice and maybe get a little more polished up, I don't know, maybe that pushes Travis J and maybe, I don't know. So they got options there, but we'll try to find out some information on that stuff when we do speak to Coach. And later on, you're live 1 to 3 o'clock with Ira and Jeff. It's called Seminole Headlines, everybody. So do tune in for that. But we'll be at practice. Updates will be on warchant.com. We'll tweet them out and all that kind of stuff. So do stay connected to the website. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.